King Productions presents the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Cornholio. Hey everybody, this is the BearDown Corner. I'm your host, Sergeant Cornholio, and we're going to get you caught up with a few stories we got this week as we dive into the off-season, continuing our way to training camp and beyond, as preseason and the NFL season are only a few short months away. All right, here we go. So, we have, again, another arrest this week. This time, all right, so we've had about 3 episodes now where we've been able to report someone having issues with the law, all right? Quishon Judkins, I believe is how you pronounce it. Rookies Brown, running back, second-round pick in this year's NFL draft, was arrested on battery and domestic assault. I don't know what to make of that. You're just starting your career. You're 21 years old. You get drafted in the second round. And here's the deal. This year's draft class, most second-round picks aren't even signed. There's been 2 contracts, fully signed, guaranteed, which is a new anomaly in today's day and age, because usually that's going to the first-round picks, but it's not even fully guaranteed contracts. But now these second-round picks that, could have been first-round, late draft picks, they're getting these guaranteed contracts in the second round. Now, I'm not necessarily against it because the average NFL lifespan is only 3 years, but let's get these guys on the field. I don't know why this guy thinks he's so much better than the next guy, but I guess they're all going to fight for their livelihood. But this is not looking good for Judkins when you're trying to make your impression. They also drafted Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. So, they're trying to replace Nick Chubb in that running back outfield for the future looking forward. And this is not a great start to it. So, Mr. Judkins, get your shit in order, kid. You wanted a long NFL career. This is not the way to get started. Don't end up like Pac-Man Jones, all right? So, actually, I owe an apology to my homie over at Oxbow, Mr. Mark. I said that, I don't think maybe it's necessarily all that it's cracked up to be. Well, after doing a little more reading and all that, he sent me an article recently about Pac-Man Jones, how last month he was also arrested on public intoxication, amongst other things. And this seems to be a recurring role. I didn't really realize this about Pac-Man Jones, but he's been arrested 3 years in a row now for public intoxication, amongst other shit, like whether he's getting into beefs or whatever. Just the year that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson had their fight, he was on his way there, but he got nailed at the airport for this shit. I think the guy has a problem, and AA might be the way you need to go, young lad. He's only 41. The former NFL returner and DB has had issues like this his whole career, though. Right? It's been on and off with the cops throughout his NFL career when he did play, but, are you not trying to set a good example? From when I've seen things from this guy's podcast and the videos that I catch of him every once in a while, he looks like he's doing all right, but the constant view in the eye of the law, do these guys not learn? Do none of them not learn? They think that they're untouchable, but they're not. So, yeah, you know what? I think that he is going to get nailed with some kind of one of his charges, and this Judkins kid probably is going to be too. They're going to start laying down the hammer harder and harder because, are we creating the next generation of degenerates? Or are we creating the next generation of, hard-fought men that try to create a better perspective for the world? I don't know. Anyway, that's enough about that. That's the arrest this week. We'll see if there pops up another one for next week's show. 49ers wide receiver Juan Jennings, the man who, didn't save the 49ers season last year, but he definitely brought the only stability to the wide receiver room. So last year they had injuries to Brandon Ayuk, on and off injuries with Deebo Samuel again. Ricky Purcell was shot at the beginning of last year through his chest. Like, he was hanging out with a homie at the nightclub. Juan Jennings is the only reliable wide receiver the 49ers had last year. Now, he's in the last year of a 2-year extension he signed a couple years back. $7.5 million he'll make this year. But for a man who had 77 catches and almost 1,000 yards, 970 or something like that, and 6 touchdowns, I think you need to go and get Brock Purdy signed up his legitimate safety net, really, outside of George Kittle and dumping the ball off. His wide receivers, they got beat to shit last year. They got tossed around, and the only one that was able to step up and stay healthy was this kid. Not even a kid anymore. He's 28. He's an NFL vet enough in this league. He's ready to take that final step these are his prime years. Lock him up with a 3-year deal, give him $15 million a season, and call it a done day. You double his salary. He's not paid like a goddamn Brandon Ayuk. What the hell do you need Brandon Ayuk for? You should have traded his ass to the Steelers last year, 49ers. But you know what? If he doesn't get a new contract, the reports coming out on this, all right, are he will likely ask for a trade to a team that is willing to pay him, but he's not going to sit out of mini camp so when veterans come around next week. So I'll give him credit on that. He's going to work out his contract. He's going to do it the right way. We'll see if it turns ugly otherwise. But Juan Jennings, you know what? You deserve a new contract. I don't see no reason why not. They already paid George Kittle this offseason. They paid Brock Purdy, right? They re-signed Fred Warner. They locked down their core. So unless this guy isn't a part of their core, which maybe not, unless they trade Brandon Ayuk, unfortunately, I don't know if the money is necessarily there. And I say that in a very touch-and-go approach because you got to think of it. They drafted Ricky Purcell. I'm pretty sure they drafted a wide receiver this year, if I'm not mistaken. They have Brandon Ayuk for the next 4 years. Jennings might be the odd man out in otherwise not the most, experienced of wide receiver locker rooms. Yes, Ayuk, I get it, but he kind of faltered off a little bit, and he's starting to look like he might just be a, 5-catch, 50-yard kind of guy most games. He'll bust out for 100 yards, but I don't know if we're going to get the same Brandon Ayuk. I think he might have been a beneficiary of when Deebo Samuel played there. And I really hope that's not the case for the Niners because they paid this guy a shit ton of money. So, yeah, I don't know, Niners fans. Something to keep an eye on, I guess. You don't need that causing shit in your locker room. Chargers second-round rookie wide receiver Trey Harris. All right. So this kind of boils into the second-round picks thing that I was talking about earlier. Only 2 picks have signed their fully guaranteed. I think a couple might have signed their, normal 4-year contracts, but the push is real this year for these players because this is a kid who had X amount of catches. I think he was in the 70 catch mark in college, over 1,000 yards, close to 10 touchdowns. He was picked in the second round, but he's viewed as a first-round talent. So I'm so mixed emotions about it because you know what? Get in the goddamn league, sign your contract, go earn your next one. But at the same time, it's like I mentioned before, the average NFL lifespan, I believe, is 3.5 years. From the time they enter the league or the time they get their shot in the league to when they exit the league. Because there's a lot of injuries that happen to first and second year guys that we'll never hear their names again. Or they'll have a breakout season in year 3 and be nowhere to see next year. So, yeah, you know what? Trey Harris, screw it. You know what? Go get your money. Go get your bag. Go get your purse or whatever it is that they call it. Because at the end of the day, you still got to make sure and take care of yourself. And in order to do that, you got to negotiate your best first contract. Yes, the rookie NFL contract system was put into place, but it never said or guaranteed on how guaranteed money fluctuated, right? Terms of contract. So, yeah, you know what? Screw it. You should not necessarily hold out. I don't agree with that. But fight for what you think you're worth. For sure. Ndamukong Suh, former defensive tackle, Lions player, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Philadelphia Eagle, and Los Angeles Rams are the teams this man played for in 13 years he played in the NFL. I remember him when he was playing as a rookie. His rookie year was probably his best year sacks-wise. Dude, this man was a beast, and he still was a beast for his entire career. He played in 3 Super Bowls. He played with the Rams when they lost to the New England Patriots in that defensive shit show battle they had. He won with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady as his quarterback years later when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the COVID year. And then he lost in the year that the Chiefs went and played and won against the Philadelphia Eagles. He was on that Eagles squad the same year Kelsey retired. So, you know what? 5 All-Pro teams. He over 600, 700 tackles. Like the man was a dominant force for over a decade plus in this league. And if not, he brought probably the best available rotation in like a Philadelphia scheme or even the Tampa Bay scheme. Great career. So congratulations into retirement and on a great career, Mr. Suh. Wish you the best. Glad to see you got your reign when you did, and the fact that, you know what, at the end of it all, you can say, yeah, I played in 3 Super Bowls, I was drafted almost top overall, and I was a dominant force in my position. Like, can't really ask much more than that. Yeah, you all want to be the best of all time, but really, you can still be a legend in your own right. So, great career by that man. And the Mr. Ryan Poles has been extended, reports coming, to 2029. The Bears GM got an extension this offseason. Well, let me tell you a little why. The simple reasons are he's been executing the plans that we see what we needed to do, how we needed to better it, and all he's done each year is execute that. I don't think necessarily that it's been an entire issue of Ryan Poles' ability to like look at talent or, you know, head coach and all that. Eberflus wasn't necessarily all his hire. All right, that was an organizational fucking standpoint from when Poles first came into the league. He came in and basically, you know, he was kind of guided. I believe Ben Johnson was his true first hire. Okay, because Poles is not an idiot when it comes to the fact of knowing that, hey, I got a young quarterback and I need an offensive-minded guy to groom him. But what does the organization do when they did? They hire Matt Eberflus, a defensive coordinator. That one was not on Poles. That was an organizational standpoint, and they helped push Poles into helping make that decision because they liked whatever Eberflus had to say that day. All right? 3 years later, he's out the door. Ben Johnson's in. We have an entire upgraded offensive line. We have receiver plethora, running back depth, fucking top 10 defense. He's done, as long as we can execute on paper, on the field, he looks like a fucking genius. Biased opinion, I know, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take the criticism. That's fine. I believe this was the right move. I'm happy and excited to see what the next 5 years bring. All right? So let's get to work, Ryan Poles and the Bears. We got some shit to get done. And to finish up, so this is one that I can see why everybody's pissed and why this man should have done what he should have done, but he hasn't yet. And that is Executive Director of the NFLPA, Lloyd Howell. And let me tell you something about Mr. Lloyd Howell. Howell worked for years prior to the NFL and all the shit as a long-time investor banker kind of guy, right? He helped fund a lot of investments he worked for Carl Group for many, many, many years. So he stayed on in a Carl Group is who hired him, but he worked as an investment banker for other organizations over the years. But working for Carl Group as a part-time, what's the word they call, where they kind of work from a distance. They do it all the time in the NFL, where you're kind of overseeing a bunch of the shit. Anyway, long story short, this man has interest in this group, obviously, because they pay him a healthy wage. I think he got paid $3.7 million last year. All right? The investigating I've done into this, he makes money from this shit. All right? Now, in doing so, though, this group, the Carlyle Group, here's what they do, though. They are a firm that help sell minority stake ownership into NFL franchises upon league approval, obviously. I think they can go all the way up to almost 10% purchase power with a group that they're trying to help buy for a franchise in getting them part ownership, okay? So I would have to think that those ins and outs of the knowledge base that comes from being an NFLPA executive director probably gives you certain insights, considering you're on the constant rotation talks with all these players from different organizations. Doesn't that kind of give you an inside lead towards, who and how might buy what franchise at what price? I think it does. I think there's a conflict of interest there, to be honest with you. And this man apparently was not asked by the NFLPA to resign from his position. This has been going on for about 10 months or so now that I've gathered from when he was hired as the executive director for the NFLPA. And he was already part of the Carlyle Group before that. So they hired him full well knowing his position already. Now, accepting upon that position, should he have stepped down maybe from the Carlyle Group? Maybe. If he's been handling himself in such a way that, it doesn't conflict of interest on either of the parties, if he somehow kept that separate, that's amazing. But I don't think you would have. You have the inside track. You're telling me that you didn't use that to help benefit yourself or others? Major conflict of issue, just remove yourself from there ever being the possibility. If you want to go on one endeavor, pack the bags on the other. You don't get to play both sides of the goddamn ball. I feel this could lead to issues, because this was also in connection to hidden up confidentiality agreements of an investigation that came out, and they said that, not enough evidence was found, but there was collusion surrounding the NFL owners on quarterback salaries. Why? Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed $45 million a season contract the Browns gave him when they traded for him from Houston. That's why. This shit has been at the center of controversy, and we're starting to see the sheets come back a little bit on some of it. I don't have the full details on how everyone's gonna break down and go 3 sheets to the wind because they're sad, but this man has an inside track with information from players themselves within organizations that he can manipulate in order to benefit, in knowing that, hey, if we go and purchase a specific sector, they could get in that much easier, right? Or maybe they come in with the proposal that, hey, we'll upgrade the facilities better because maybe the facilities aren't that good at that ownership group. And that's how this group's going to come in and buy their 5 to 10%. That's just an example anyway, right? I don't know the exact specifics, but that's how I would view that. If a team facility, let's say, was lacking a new gym or proper equipment and shit like that, I know they're all high tech, but let's be honest, there are some cheap franchises out there, even though they're the NFL. All right? Take the Bengals. They were the epitome of that for many, many years. They still are to an extent. They'll pay their offensive guys, won't pay their defensive. At least it seems like. So, Lloyd, maybe you just step back. Just say it. Maybe you step back. It's not like you're hurting in any context. Pick which one you like better and go with it. But you know what, though? That's good enough for me. Because I don't know all the ins and outs of that world. I'd like to know one day. But for now, I'm just here to say, hey, talk to you guys, and we all go along our ways. But this has been the BearDown Corner. That's enough time for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in, checking us out, having some fun, hopefully, and catching up for some around the NFL news until we get some real stories on who's injured, signing, going elsewhere as we come into the NFL training camp portion of the 2025 season. All right, you can catch us every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock General Mountain, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and of course YouTube. You all have a great week. Take care, and we'll see you next week here at the BearDown Corner.